Hello, and welcome back to 100% Real with Ruby. Today, I'm talking about probably one of the most frustrating and misunderstood topics in women's fat loss and pursuit of getting that lean, defined body. And to be honest, it's the reason why so many women struggle to get to the level of fitness, definition, tone, even the level of leanness that you want. Like if getting really lean is your issue, or losing any amount of fat is your issue, or even getting started on fat loss, or even just being consistent again. Because many of us find it not that difficult. I'm not going to say easy because it's never easy, but not that difficult to stay consistent and see results at some point in time. But then over time, it just gets harder and harder. And we get to a point where all of a sudden, anything over a particular amount of calories, it's almost like we just gain weight, or what used to work doesn't work anymore, or it just gets harder and harder to see change. Whereas before, we could do a few things and see some results, but now it's just like a fighting battle where anything over, let's just say 1500, 1600 calories, and nope, it just sticks to you. And that's what I want to address today. And it comes up after I posted something in a Facebook group that I'm trying to be a little bit more active in, where I mentioned that 1500 calories isn't your maintenance. And I was being a little bit kind there. Usually I say 1600 isn't. But the amount of comments that I got on that post were insane. So before I dive into the truth, the explanations, the reasons why this feels so fundamentally true, because it honestly, I understand why it does and why it will for so many women. And then for those who are like I was when I was someone who believed this, I was someone who was doing all the tracking and I wasn't in the category of what I'm going to talk about with it not being as accurate with how you track your food. There are still reasons why you could believe that 1600 is your maintenance, but it truly isn't. And this is going to everyone out there that does want to build a shape, does want to build a physique. Like if you're fine with just getting healthy and sitting on the couch, well, that's not really healthy either. Because if you want to get healthy, you want to be more active. You want to walk because walking decreases all cause mortality. It's great for blood pressure, for blood sugar levels, for everything. So it's like even someone who sees herself as educated and who I thought would have some education in it got a bunch of likes for her comment. But it's like, even if you are accurately tracking your calories, it is very rare for your maintenance to be 1500 calories, unless you're 40 kilos, maybe 45. Unless you're sitting on your bum doing absolutely nothing. And her argument was not everyone is going to be walking all of these steps. It's like, what are all of these steps? Like, most people should at least be aiming for 8,000 if they're in the category of what my actual post said, which is if you want to build tone, if you want to get healthy, my audience are those who actually care about living a healthy, fit life. And if you're walking at least 8,000 steps a day, if you're training, if you're just living to be the best human that you can be, which is what I would assume for anyone who got triggered by this. They've been trying for ages. Why else would you get triggered by it? Why else would you want to have a say on the fact that 1500 calories isn't your maintenance? That would at least assume that you know your maintenance calories and you've been tracking consistently, which I'll get into. But the comments on here were around that and the fact, well, I'm 4'11". If you were 4'9", I might say you're okay, cool. Maybe 1500 is your maintenance. And I would say you would benefit from walking more, because there is literally no way that that would be your now maintenance unless you're someone that has zero appetite, because in today's day and age, it's very difficult to stick to calories that low. Like just have one meal out and that's 3/4 of your calories gone. most meals out at restaurants are around the 700 to 1000 mark. And if you're in America, most of the things that I've seen are actually around the 1200 mark, even up to the 1500 mark when I see menus shared with me from my clients. Like, it is not that hard for you to go over those calories. If you eat once out in a fortnight, that in itself could be enough to take you out of a deficit if you're just teetering on it. And that is the very point. So many women are not in an effective deficit to get what they want. While 1500 may not be your maintenance calories, you may very well need to drop down to 1200 calories, to 1300 calories to start to see fat loss results. If you're just going to do these little bites, I don't mean bites as in food, but like bites of calorie deficits, like I'm just going to go down to 1400 or 1300, and your maintenance is like 17 or 1800, like that will work if it's 1800. But if you've been trying to get by on 1500 calories your whole life and you're just going to drop into 1300 calories and that's good enough, you're never going to see the results you want. You're not even going to see what you want in 1500 calories because that isn't even enough to build definition. You're not in a place, well, you will to start with because that's why people feel like things work. You're going to see results to start with. You always see results to start with. It's called the newbie effect. And if you have a lot of body fat to lose, you might think that just seeing those results to start with is enough to give you, oh, well, I know what I'm doing is working because I saw results. Until you realize, like 10 years on, that it hasn't worked. And most people have realized that. Some people have realized that a little bit too late because now they're in perimenopause and blaming cortisol and hormones, which I don't blame them for blaming because they didn't do the work that helps make menopause easier. And it wasn't their fault. Really, it was, well, I don't want to blame anyone for it because social media is the one that makes us believe these things. They're the one. I don't even know. I don't want to blame anyone because that's not what this is about. It's about awareness. And there are reasons why we believe what we believe and do what we do and stay closed to other things. And I would just say it's out of fear and say it's out of frustration and the fact that you've been trying so hard. So you want to argue your point. And we are human and humans like to be right. There's the ego bias. So I never want to put blame on anyone because people come at things for different reasons. But if anything, I blame myself for not being able to kind of make my point a little bit clearer in a way that got accepted better because I don't really know how else to articulate it in a way. Well, I did at the end when I wasn't so sleepy, where I asked the question, well, if you were to go into a deficit, but you've been trying to get along on 1500 calories every single time that, like just trying to get by on 1500 calories full stop. And then you want to go into a deficit, that means that you're going to have to get down to like 1100, 1200. 1200, you won't even see anything if 1500 is your maintenance because maintenance is a range. That could mean that 1400 is still maintenance. So you'll have to get down to like 1000 calories if you want to go into a 500 calorie deficit because anything less than a 300 calorie deficit isn't worth your time. You're not going to see results from that. The smallest bite of an apple, that's an exaggeration, but the smallest thing could take you out of that deficit for the week. And if you're not tracking accurately, and if things get missed, and if you have any meals out, that's just going to be a shit time. And it's funny because one of the ladies that was getting like thumbs up and supported then commented later on, well, I'm eating 1700 calories. So 2000 calories doesn't work for me. Where did I say 2000 calories? Number one. Number two, that is my point. 1700 calories is your maintenance, not 1500. That could very well be your maintenance right now. Maybe I bet her anything that it could be more than 1700 calories. It's just that what do you put down to progress? And she was also doing intermittent fasting. And by the sounds of it, her training program wasn't even sound. You can't just eat more food and expect it to work. Like you eat more food for a reason. It's meant to fuel something. Well, number one, your BMR, which is your body just functioning, but it's meant to fuel your activity outside of the gym. You're walking, your recovery, your building of the muscle. And if like a lot of the women on there that were 40s saying that it doesn't work for them anymore and they were more active before. It's like, well, what are you doing? Oh, I'm doing cardio 2 to 3 days a week and I'm training 5 days a week. It's like, well, you don't really sound like you're under training. I mean, you're overtraining. If anything, you sound like you're over exercising, doing too much, but not enough of the right things that actually get you to where you want to be. And I'm sorry that this is just turning into a whole rant on this stuff, but I'm hoping that it makes some sense to you. Like, this stuff really matters. There's a reason why you're struggling to see the results. And if you, like, even, I hate macro calculators, but even if you just use a proper macro calculator, not the ones that are just for health people, but you type it in, it's like maintenance. That is why someone on there said it should, my maintenance on the macro calculator said that it should be around 2,200 calories, but no, I gained weight on there. It's like, do you really? Like, do you understand how all this stuff factors together? I'm going to explain it all. And I don't like having these long intros because it's like, did I lose anyone in this? But someone came in on said you've posted a lot of controversial posts in the past, haven't you? Well, they're controversial only because you don't agree with me, but you seem to be struggling with what you're doing. So, eh. And the truth of the fact is that many women these days, because muscle building, strength training, that wasn't a thing back then. It wasn't a thing back then. So we didn't get to push muscle building, to push strength building. And one of the arguments was you're saying that you might need 1,100 calories of a deficit, and you're saying that's okay, but not 1,500 maintenance. But that's the thing, like that is how the body works. When you're in a deficit, some people adapt harder. Some people may need metabolic adaptation in itself, the way that we were taught to believe that it just adapts down and you're going to have to keep pushing your calories lower and lower. It's like, no, provided that you're still moving, you're getting in your NEAT, you're training as best as you can, you're fueling yourself with the right foods, you should not need to diet that low in your calories if all else is still elevated. But some people may be impacted that much where they rather not do the movement because now getting in any extra movement is going to increase your hunger more than, like, it's exponentially more at too high of a ratio. So now you want to put yourself into more of a deficit instead of forcing more activity, because the activity is just going to make you eat even more than just trying to suffer a little bit more on the deficit. But that's why fat loss phases are phases, not lifestyles. And it, like, not that many people would need to dig deeper than 1,100 calories. It was just something that I said there. Like, if you feel like 1,500 calories is your maintenance, that's a 400 calorie deficit. If you think that 1,600 calories maintenance, then you have your 500 calorie deficit. But that's exactly the point. Like, most women are living, well, it's not even that you're living there. And that's what I'm going to get into today. Welcome to a really long introduction. And I'm sorry about that, but I would love you guys to reach out to me. Let me know if any of what I just said in that introduction resonated with you, if anything there is true. There is no such thing as starvation mode. Metabolic adaptation only is literally half an apple. It's about 60 calories. Everything else is the NEAT. It's how it impacts your hunger, your cravings, how it impacts your strength training. And a lot of people don't account for how it impacts their movement outside of the gym, how it impacts their training then. And if you do these daft approaches, or you're always going into calorie deficits without taking enough time away from it, you're not giving yourself a great chance in those fat loss phases because you never really built anything to expedite fat loss. Like, if your strength is up there, you'll be burning so much more through your training sessions, through rebuilding the muscle, through trying to keep your muscle there. Just like, muscle is so expensive to keep. If you can build up your training performance and your strength to this muscle mass and you're needing to keep it there, like this muscle mass, that is a lot of calories that you, like, we don't train to burn calories, but that is significantly more potential for you to keep muscle, for you to bias fat burning, to make it easier than if you never had it. And sadly, most people don't get that chance to do that because we keep thinking that fat loss is the way to leaner versus, okay, let's actually assess where we are right now. If we need to build muscle and build strength, let's do that first. If you're just starting out, stay in maintenance for a real long period of time unless you do have significant fat to lose. And actually build up your maintenance calories, make it easier for yourself. It baffles me that women would not want to make it easier for themselves, but I also understand why they are there because no one's ever been taught how. So I have a lot of notes. And it took me that long to get into an intro. So my notes are a little bit more structured. I might need to split this into two, but I'm going to try get it into one. This kind of feeds into the whole you're eating too little and not losing weight because a lot of women say that they're hardly eating or they're on 1500 calories and they're not losing weight or they're on X calories and they're not losing weight. And it never ends up being a thing where they can allow themselves to lose weight because they've been in this chronically low caloric state for years. And you're mentally fatigued from it all. Like it's going to be very difficult for you to commit yourself with intense effort to a proper fat loss phase if you don't mentally get yourself out of there. And it's very difficult to get out of that place mentally to fueling enough for long enough. It's uncomfortable because you're going to want to keep going back into a deficit. And that's why I understand this whole mindset because you're going to feel bigger when there's more food in your belly. When you're starting to train harder, it's like a completely different experience. But the real question is, what do you want to get out of this? Do you want to look like you lift, or are you happy repeating the same thing and getting the same results? Because if you learn how to train hard and effectively and you can nail those reps and improve those reps, there is nothing but improvement to come your way because you're doing the very thing that is going to build the muscle. You're not in a surplus. You're not going to gain a shit ton of fat. It's the if you feel like your body isn't changing, what's really happening is that it's deprived, it's tired, there's inconsistencies happening there that we aren't accounting for, which is why if this is all new to you, where you do have to eat more, because some people don't have the same level of accuracy and intention when there's no diet attached to something. I have had that experience with clients before where because there wasn't diet attached, they started getting sloppy and they admitted that. And they also admitted that they found it hard to be motivated to be on top of it because there wasn't like it just felt strange. And I get that as well. And that's exactly why we need to start seeing maintenance as not this phase where nothing happens. It's where everything happens. It's where you learn to fuel. It's where you have enough energy. Most people end up in unintentional maintenance. You've been dieting your whole life without the benefits of the diet, where you see your body change. You get the metabolic benefits, the aesthetic benefits, because it's become this unintentional maintenance where there's weekend overeating or stress eating or eating too little for performance. Because if you're not fueling enough in the day, like that other lady that mentioned that she was doing intermittent fasting, so it didn't work. It's like, well, if you're not fueling the part of the day that needs the fuel the most, the training, the going out and about, and if you haven't yet built sufficient muscle mass, like me, for example, I'm extremely metabolically sensitive because I move around a lot. I have a lot of muscle mass. It's not going to impact me as much if I have more of my food away from actual activity, but that is going to impact my performance in the gym, but not my actual everything else. Like I'm not going to just have a complete slump. Whereas if you haven't yet built up that metabolic efficiency, that metabolic effectiveness, you haven't yet built enough muscle, then it does kind of matter that you're fueling your day, that you're fueling your workouts. Intermittent fasting isn't really the best solution for body composition. The only thing that I would say it's good for is if it helps you stay in a deficit if you're in a fat loss phase. But you would still want to prioritize your nutrition around your training, or at least have a protein shake in your fasting period, because we don't just fast for the sake of fasting. Like, cool, you don't have to eat until like 3 p.m. if you don't want to. Just have a shake with a lot of protein around your workout, so you at least protect that. There's no rules to this shit. It's like, what's the actual intended purpose? Don't let the name of it just make you feel like you can't have something that protects the very thing that you want. So there's that. And same with the weekends. Like if you're doing low calories through the week and then high calories on the weekend, it's the same thing that goes. Like most people train during the week. And then if you're just fueling the weekends with very little fuel during the week, you're completely obliterating the point of fueling. The fuel's there for your workouts, it's there for your recovery. If you're eating a lot of calories, it doesn't matter a lot. But if you're under 2,000 calories, under 1,800 calories, even more so, then it matters. And I guess this whole belief comes from the fact that back then, which I know because I used to follow 800, 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 calorie meal plans. And if anything, I thought 1,300 was a lot of calories. I used to always try to find meals that were around 250, 300. As soon as I saw anything over 300, I'm like, no, this isn't the website for me. Like, I was that person. I understand it. It's crazy to think that I would eat a meal that's as big as the ones that I eat now in terms of calories, like in terms of friggin' lettuce leaves, different story. But calorie wise, it'd be like I don't recognize myself back then. Like we're two different people. But that's the thing. And your sleep is probably the hugest thing as well. And if you're low on carbs, that impacts your sleep as well. And I don't think people realize just how much that can impact the quality of your sleep because carbs are buffers to cortisol. And if you're living a high stress lifestyle, that is usually why people say that they have a lot of belly fat going into perimenopause because the way that you have been, if this is you, taught how to do fat loss, how to do body composition stuff. It's been this go, go, go hustle mindset. You're not going to recover from it, which is the main crux of the issue. You need to respect recovery so much more than, and our usual reaction to our body gaining fat that we can't control is let's go harder, let's add in more things, but that's just adding more poison to the mix. And then you try to fight your body because you don't want to lose progress or you already feel like you're going backwards. And I know that because whenever I used to feel like I was losing progress, I am that stubborn type A person that would just try to go harder because I didn't want that to be what was happening. But it never really works for us, especially when you're not really fueling the right way or you don't even know how to fuel the right way. Now, yes, it's kind of true. Well, it's very much true. Someone who is smaller is going to need less food than someone who's freaking 6 foot. If you're 6 foot tall, then you need if you are 6 foot tall, you wouldn't even be commenting on that person. I'm pretty sure no one did. Because if you're like 5'6" or taller, then your maintenance is very well much around 2,000 or more because you're tall and you would be active because you care about your health, you care about the fitness lifestyle, and you're trying to build muscle. But it doesn't make 1,500 maintenance. It's like very rare for that to be maintenance if you are getting in your steps. Most people who say, unless you, like I said, unless you're really lean, like if you are really lean, then that's a different story. And if you do want to get leaner, then that's a different story too. You drop your calories down, but lean also means that you have the muscle mass there. And if you have the muscle mass there, I highly doubt that that would be a maintenance. Like me, I'm 5'1", 0.7. That 0.7 is important to me. But I used to think the very same thing. Like I'm short, I'm stocky, everything stores in my belly, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, okay, cool. I did gain weight when I ate more food, but I ate a lot more food, like a lot more food. And I was training to build muscle. And that to me was like, I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't go through that. And that's the thing. Like, I never thought that I could ever, 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 ever do fat loss successfully. I never did. Both the behavioral aspect, like I mentioned on the last podcast, I think it was the last podcast, I don't know. which one I mentioned it on, but it was where I said that it was because I didn't think that I could stick to the plan because I was always overeating and nibbling and I didn't trust myself to not binge at nighttime. I think I said it on a client call actually, not a podcast, but I used to overeat every single night. So I used to eat like a bird through the day. And I did all the cardio, did all the training 6 days a week, sometimes seven. I would throw in an extra hit session because I could, because I can. Sometimes I did 2 a days with cardio, just walking or running, like intense walking, sweaty walking with thermogenics because I was trying so hard to change my body. And it was ridiculous because I wasn't thriving. And a lot of like at one point it was I was actually lean, trying to get leaner, and I didn't see it. The other time was I actually was puffy and fluffy and inflamed, and I have photos of it. I was just bulky, and that's because my body had enough, and it really needed to just get fueled more and get its metabolic functionings back on track. But I fought it like crazy, kind of like when people were going through perimenopause, and I had to feed myself, I had to recover. And lo and behold, my body started to respond. And that's the thing. That's for those people that are tracking everything accurately. Maintenance is a range. And metabolic adaptation may not be that real of a thing for the majority of people, but if you've been in a chronically deprived, low hormonal state for ages because you've been doing crazy ass shit to yourself, then you need to pull yourself out so that your body has a chance to turn its functions back on again. So you start expending heat properly again. So you start your reproductive cycles again if you still have it. But also maintenance, like I said, is a range. It can be a range from like 1800 all the way to 21, nothing happens. Maybe for some people, it can even go up to 2400 and you gain a little bit of food weight, a little bit of glycogen weight because duh, but you don't really gain fat weight at all. And when people say that 1500 calories is a maintenance, it's like, how do you know? Are you tracking everything to the absolute gram, like the absolute gram? The butter, if you have any, which butter isn't even healthy anyway. The butter, the olive oil, the any oils. When you eat out, are you actually guesstimating it with the extras in there? Like, are you giving it an extra 10 to 20% on top? You should always add 10 grams of oil to it at minimum, depending on how oily it is. Ask for no oil. Are you adding every single little thing that could possibly be on that plate, plus some more? Because it can be up to double the calories that you eat. How do you know that that's your maintenance? Are you tracking everything every single day for at least a month to know what your body's doing? And are you active to the same degree every single day? Like, you can't, why aim for 1500 calories and continue to struggle when you could be so much more adherent to high calories, not have as much pressure on you to try to stick to it? Because I had a conversation with someone the other day where they weren't even logging all of their food. They would not log their after night desserts because they had 1200 calories in their diary and they didn't want to put it in there because that meant that they went over. It's like they knew they had it. So in their head, they're like on 1200 calories and they're not seeing any change. But in reality, they weren't having 1200 calories. So there's like so many different things here that could be at play. But this is the point. It's like if you can actually build your calories high enough to thrive, just build your training performance, get yourself out of a deficit. So you're not in accidental maintenance or suppressed maintenance, because they're two different things, but they're kind of similar. Suppressed maintenance is kind of where you just down regulated everything down. You can be doing all of the activity, but your body is just expending less, which I don't really think that part makes that big of a difference unless you're really significantly moving less with your body and your training performance goes down. And if you're not getting stronger, or at least maintaining strength, then I would be concerned as well. But there is not a single chance in hell that you're going to be successful in this journey if you're always trying to eat less, because that is mentally fatiguing. And like I said, you're going to feel restricted more than anything in the world. There's restriction, and then there's a structured fat loss phase. And I think many of us can also confuse, what's the word? We can confuse feeling restricted with dieting kind of thing. Like, because we feel so restricted, we feel like we're dieting or we feel like we're on deficit calories, but it doesn't mean you're on deficit calories. It's just because you are so restricted. And like I was talking to a mate who believes literally anything. So I don't really say anything because whatever, but he's like, I'm doing a reverse diet and I'm bumping calories up just a little bit, which is bullshit. And then he said the thing that I knew he was gonna that is the real fact that reverse dieting is dumb and it isn't really a thing. Like you just bump your calories up to your new maintenance, which I would say is about 85 to 90% of your original maintenance. So if your maintenance is like 2,000 calories and then you go diet on 1,500 calories, which, yeah, see, 1,500 calories is perfect for a diet. That's what you would jump down to. And then you would jump back up to like 1,800 calories and see what your body does there. And then slowly graduate them up again as you start to push yourself in the gym again, if your performance did get degraded or whatever. But I would just jump them right up again, not all the way up to 2,000, because you want to give yourself a little bit of a chance to bring everything back up again in terms of energy. If anything there got disrupted, which it would in ways that we don't even realize, like our posture, our gestures, the way that we push ourselves in the gym, like that kind of stuff. But this is why a true maintenance phase or a building phase is so important. It restores your hormone health. It builds your muscle. It gives your body the green light. It gives your mental state the green light. Because it sucks to be in this place where you're not gaining actual muscle, but you're not losing any fat and you're just wheel spinning. But it feels like you're making progress because you're putting in so much effort and you're thinking about it. That just sucks. But ugh, I hope that makes sense, because eating too little doesn't make you gain fat. And the whole you need to reverse diet to start seeing fat loss, it's like, no, the reason why people are saying that is to placebo you and sweet talk you into some marketing term so that you're bought in to, oh my God, my metabolism's going to be fire now. And nothing really, like, if you don't understand the process of everything else that needs to come up with it, like we need to actually get you hitting your 8 to 10,000 steps and being a lot more active and being a lot more energized and focusing on performance and building muscle and strength. Like actually have a structured program. More isn't better, and just training hard isn't the answer. Like we want to build strength, we want to build muscle, we want to have a consistent program that is designed to build the body. Because when everything is hand in hand, it really doesn't have to sound as complicated or be as complicated as I make it sound either, because it's really not. It's not complicated. It's the most simple thing on paper there is. It's just that we are humans and we are not simple beings. And we get bored of things as well. And consistency. This is why I don't believe in deloads for the majority of people, because life gives us deloads. It makes us take time off. Unless you're someone who's very anal with getting your sessions in, that's a different story. But it's really understanding how to track your food accurately, because if something's not changing, then something isn't mathing. That's the only way that you can put it that way, because like, the worst thing that you want to even be in is unintentional maintenance. That's why I'm like, in a fat loss phase, get your hands dirty, like go deep, but do it the right way, because you don't want to lose muscle and you don't want to overblow it either. Like do things the right way, but don't be afraid to make shit unsustainable, because you're not meant to make it sustainable. That's usually why people never really get the results. They try to make everything sustainable. You need to, like I mentioned, well, like Dal mentioned in the podcast there, like you need to learn to say no. You need to learn to be okay with the trade-offs that are needed. And you need to have awareness around your behaviors, because sometimes we're not even aware of them or we don't want to admit to them, which is completely okay. But without that awareness and without admitting it and realizing that everyone has these at some point and that our behaviors aren't there to sabotage us, they're there to protect us. They are literally there to protect us from something. They've served us in the past from discomfort in some way. For many people, it might be the discomfort of, I'm so rush at work all the time. This is the only time I get to myself. It's figuring out what it is that is holding you back and being open to the possibility of changing something that you do so that you can get change. Because I know it's hard and I know it's scary. And everyone, yes, is different. But why would you want to keep aiming for a low amount of calories when in reality, number one, you're not eating that much, or number two, it could be higher and you could actually thrive in life. But still, it is very rare for people to be consistently eating 1,500 calories every single day in this food environment that we're in. Like, it's abundant with food. But you don't want this to feel like punishment. This is meant to be you thriving. I think I covered all my points. I went off into my own little tangents as well, and I did try to make it somewhat structured because I have so many different points in all different areas. And just getting really clear on the fact that metabolic adaptation shouldn't really be a thing. But the longer you diet and the more that you push it, the more it does become a thing and the more that it will set you back. But just as badly as your metabolism would adapt downwards, it adapts upwards again. And as long as you do it smart, nothing really much should change as long as you're on top of your steps. There is no such thing as starting your deficit off too sharp. So now you're going to adapt even harder. That's something that I've now realized, which I think I've completely made that apparent before, that that was something I used to believe years ago, and I don't believe it anymore. Like, you can cut your calories really low to start with. I did not long ago believe that you should start it off slow and then make it deeper, but why would, like, I started to realize that at the start of a diet, you have a lot more energy, you have a lot more capacity to just do it dirty. And it's only through the actual fat loss phase that you start to get your hunger signals, you start to feel the effects of a fat loss phase. And it's then that you would probably be better off reducing your fat loss calories. And that's where a lot of people freak out, because it's like, but if I increase my calories, then I'm not going to lose any weight. And it's like, well, no, you're still in a deficit. It's just not as bad or as big. And yeah. So I hope that helps. If there's anything else that you want me to cover, let me know. I do want to do a separate podcast on like cortisol and hormones and training after the age of 40 and all that kind of stuff, but I don't really know what people want to know about it or if that's even a podcast of interest. But I don't bite. Like, I really try not to bite. That's why at the beginning of this podcast, I was getting really mad at myself for not being able to like say what I said in that comment section in a way that actually could help people reflect. Instead, it came across with people kind of attacking me backwards. But it's like, well, yeah, okay. Hope this helps. And don't keep yourself in a plateau for longer than is necessary. It sucks. It really does. And just because you're not losing weight on a certain amount of calories does not make them your maintenance calories. Don't allow yourself to fall for that. The only reason they're your maintenance calories is because your body or you somehow adapted your energy to that. Either you don't have enough muscle mass to start with, you fatigued the shit out of yourself and you're finding it hard to adhere to it, or movement in some area of your life is being compensated, or even your sleep. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, any doubts, just reach out to me on Instagram. I will answer them. I will shoot you a message back. Okay. Love you all, and you'll hear me on the next podcast.